Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
Accomplishment Coaching is proud to present the following fine programming. Accomplishment Coaching, where coaches lead and leaders coach. AccomplishmentCoaching.com.
Welcome to the Coaching Show with your host, Master Certified Coach Christopher McCullough.
And thank you very much, Dick Warren. Our visual people will see that today we're very excited to have an in-studio guest, and I can't wait to have the conversation we're going to have. Of course, we'll try and remember that there's video, there's audio, remember to talk into the microphones, because at least previously in our conversations, we get a bit animated.
Yeah, and life is complicated, so just welcome to the true world. You know?
There we go. You can tell by his dulcet tones that he's going to be an awesome experience for us today and for you. I'm busily looking up some things on my iPad here. Excuse that. But here's the thing. We got to let you know, my dear listener, first of all, that about our longtime sponsor of this show, and also about our media partnership with the International Coach Federation. This man here, Tom Crane, knows the value of the International Coach Federation. We've been around long enough to have seen it sort of be a question mark and then grow into a large exclamation point. And I'm delighted, happy, proud to be a media partner. This show, the coaching show, is a media partner with the International Coach Federation. Our partnership is now in its 4th year, and it gives us a welcome opportunity to acknowledge the fine work of the folks involved at the International Coach Federation, the association. The ICF is the leading global organization dedicated to advancing the coaching profession, and they do that by building a worldwide network of trained coaching professionals, in fact, the largest worldwide network of trained coaching professionals. They set high standards, they provide independent certification, and as the world's largest organization of professionally trained coaches, ICF adds instant credibility to its members, like me. ICF is committed to connecting professional coaches with the tools and resources they need to succeed in their careers. And that's really important. I don't know about you, but there have been many times when I've been sort of at the last minute trying to find some ROI justification for a client to hire a coach or for an organization to go with coaching. And all of those resources, all the research, all the tools that you need, in fact, other people's pitches, are all available at the ICF website. The International Coach Federation is a huge storehouse of valuable tools and resources. If you want to learn more and stay up to date with ICF news, including finding out about their global conference this year, which, Tom, summertime in Washington, D.C.,
that'll be warm.
It's deliciously swampy, but it is the first global conference they've had in, I think, 5 years. So you want to be there. I want to be there. I will be there. To learn more about ICF and to stay up to date, you can visit coachfederation.org and follow ICF on Twitter. Their handle is @ICFHQ. That's @ICFHQ. We're delighted to also have an ICF representative on our show each month, so be sure to tune in because we've had everyone from the executive director, chief of everything, to the people that are in charge of the chapters and people from different parts of the world. It's an extraordinary opportunity. In addition, let's see. I want to let you know about our longtime sponsor of this podcast. For over 14 years, we've been proud to be sponsored by Accomplishment Coaching. And I don't know about you, but when I looked for coach training, I wanted the best. I didn't want the least expensive. I didn't want the easiest. I wanted the finest coach training because I knew I was going to do it one time and I wanted to do it right. So Accomplishment Coaching has, from the beginning, designed itself, positioned itself, and kept to their commitment of being the world's finest coach training program. So if you like Yale and Harvard are looking for the Stanford or Oxford of coaching, check out AccomplishmentCoaching.com. Accomplishment Coaching is in 6 cities around the United States and Canada, and you can actually go. One of the things I love about them is you can go and visit their program. It's not a black box. You can go and see what the approach is, what their style is, what it looks like. It's all in-person coaching, and you get a coach for the entire year of the training program. So it's not modular. It's not, do this and then do that. It's one program program one time, but you get all the tools you need to do whatever sort of coaching you want to do. Accomplishment Coaching, we're delighted to continue to be sponsored by them. Check it out at accomplishmentcoaching.com. All right, let's get to it. Delighted, ecstatic, been looking forward to this for some time. The great Tom Crane is with us. He's an international consultant, facilitator, author, and speaker who specializes in leadership. He assists leaders in creating high performance through the development of high-performance coaching cultures. Works with all level of leaders, and he wrote this book that we have been delighted to talk to you about before and multiple times, The Heart of Coaching. Now in its 4th edition, The Heart of Coaching is the foundation of all the work that Tom does in organizations that are very impressive around the world, and we could give you the list, but let's get to it. The founder of Crane Coaching, a resident of San Diego, California, a member of the OD Network, Society for Human Resource Management, and the American Society for Training and Development, and San Diego Professional Coaches Advisory Board. We're delighted to welcome back to our microphones Tom Crane. Hello, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Well,
Thank you for your kind words.
it's a privilege to have you here. Thanks for experimenting with us and being here. I know that it seems sometimes like we're far away and perhaps sometimes like we're too close here in this. So, leadership, you know, in the words of the great Bruno Mars, that's what you like. But we seem to be in at least a crisis of leadership, or at least a very divisive time when it comes to leaders these days. What do you see when you look at the leadership, either the political landscape of leadership or the state of leadership in organizations? Maybe that's 2 different questions.
Well, I think it's the common thread is the process of leading, having people being willing followers and engaged and enrolled in the mission of that enterprise, whatever that is, whether it's a for-profit, a healthcare organization, a not-for-profit. Just the common thread there is about leading people. And so under the pressures that we've been under for, say, the last decade or so, the financial meltdown, and I think that set up in motion, the pressure sometimes brings out the best. It can also bring out the worst. So part of what I see, and I work with leaders and their teams, is a blend. You see people under the pressure, the stress, falling back into old habits, looking at, using an old machine model of people are nothing but resources to leverage their production
and except for
cogs in the wheel.
My army of clone robots, that's not true for most organizations, right? But,
exactly.
So what's the model that does work, or that when you come into an organization and you can see, as most of us can pretty much right off, that there's a leadership issue? What are some of the clues that leadership is the issue?
Well, it's interesting. I brought with me a schedule that shows some research that's just about a year and a half old from the Harris Polling Organization. It's amazing in that it talks about the top 10 complaints from employees about their bosses, about their leaders. So it's really relevant to our topic.
This wasn't just my employees.
No,
right?
it was.
This is a larger
end.
end.
This is generic, and this is a study that they did. These are communication issues that prevent effective leadership, which is what this is all about. So, do I see these symptoms? Yes, I do. Let me share with you some of the data.
Please.
And
this
is
is
a context for us.
2015.
It's
Harris
actually
poll?
2015 data.
Great.
From the Harris poll.
Can't get better than that.
Yeah, it can't get better. So it's valid and interesting. So the first and the most significant issue is that employees do not feel that their leaders are recognizing their achievements straight out of the box, not reinforcing, appreciating the good things that they do and the difference they make. So 63% of the respondents said they had an issue in this area. That's like 2 out of 3 have an issue. Hello. Not giving clear directions, 57%, so it's almost 2/3. It's a huge, huge number. Not having time to meet with employees. Let me walk on down to a couple below. Refusing to talk to subordinates.
Really?
Now, what is the potential excuse for why someone wouldn't talk with their subordinate, their direct report? I can't make any sense of that. But yet the data is in. It says that 51%, half the group, says there's an issue by not being talked to by their boss. Not offering constructive feedback, they call it constructive criticism, which for me is an oxymoron and problematic, just what you call it. So there's all kinds of issues relative to communications that I see and that most people who work in organizations see as well. So then the way we help shift that is to have them understand what the process of coaching ends up being about and how they can do that, because from the coaching process and coaching engagement, they can be a far better leader.
It strikes me that, like, I appreciate you going down to some of the lower on the list, but I love that, the top two, right, are completely and clearly in the leader's bailiwick,
Yeah.
right? There's no like, oh, there's something wrong with this team, right? If you're not recognizing the achievements, 2 out of 3, and then I don't know what the
And your
status-
directions are not clear.
right?
Where we're going.
Who's
Our mission, our strategy,
one of the great startup guys that I know, Charles Gillespie, always tells me the CEO has 2 jobs: culture and priorities. And, that's right here, right?
That's about it. It really is. I would completely agree with that comment.
Recognizing achievements. Okay. So you advocate bringing in, and it's sort of your business and has been for decades now, bringing in a culture shift to an organization.
Yeah.
Is that your,
Yeah.
so you walk in and you're like, hey, look what people are saying.
Yep.
And then what we advocate is a culture shift. It seems to me like any culture shift is a monumental task. But what is involved in a coaching culture shift?
Great. The thing that makes it so daunting, I think, is people have a hard time understanding what culture is made up of. And the thing that often is said is like how we do things around here. Well, how we do things sounds like how we run our machinery. And doing things is far different than how we treat people. So I think that's the other half of the equation. It's how we do things. It's how we treat people. So we've got to be able to understand that. So a culture shift is maybe we need to start doing things better, be more efficient, be more productive, be more focused on our customer and their needs, and then treat people differently as partners, as collaborators, as confidants, as valued members of our association.
Or at least speak to them. Right?
Well, hello, talk to them, provide direction, and then provide the feedback so that the people know how they're doing. The millennials, of course, are famous for, as they moved into management and leadership roles now, if you don't give me feedback and coach me and develop me, I'm down the road. I'm leaving.
Yeah. Ben, there's so many different pieces I want to follow up there. Let's start with, so when you talked about culture being how we do things, it reminded me of Ricardo Semler, the Brazilian guy. Have you seen his TED Talk or read his book?
I don't think I know him.
I apologize for dumping him on you, but he's really great. One of the things that he said that has stuck with me for many years now, Ricardo Semler, is 3 whys. He said, in any organization, the thing you should do is ask 3 why questions in a row. He said, the first one, everybody sort of looks at you condescendingly and is like, oh, you poor dumb
Everybody should know that.
bunny, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
Like, of course, here's the reason we do this, right? But then if you follow up with another why question, it gets a little more complicated, because then they're not so sure, and it's sort of like, oh, I think, well, this is right.
You're having to re-examine your assumptions
Exactly.
and you go deeper.
And the third why question, he said, usually devastates the issue.
Breaks it wide open.
Right.
Yeah.
What's an example where you've gone in and had to sort of reveal to an organization or a leader that how they do things is actually the toxic component?
Well, it's called feedback, right? So whether you've done a 360 or you've just talked with people, or you've often found out from the next level down, or even 2 levels down, what is the senior leadership, either the CEO, the president, the GM, the VP, whoever you're working with in this capacity, what is it that they're doing well and helps you? What is it that they're not doing well and hinders you or gets in your way or is problematic? And the third question I'll often ask is, what would be a suggestion? If there's one thing you'd pass on to this leader, what would it be? What would you like to have them start doing more of, or less of, or stop or start? So that suggestion for going forward is a key piece of that. Well, then if you package that feedback, pull it together and sit down in confidence and work with that leader around their feedback that you've gathered rather informally, because it's truthful, it's good, solid stuff, and they can, if they can onboard that, if they can believe it, if they can get their ego out of the way enough to take it in, which is often the issue, then they've got the chance to grow and develop themselves and get behind this idea of creating a culture where coaching is a common shared communication skill. We all know how to give and receive feedback, which is what opens up everything else. It makes those why questions easy. It has people become transparent. We're all working on ourselves to become a better leader. And if they don't model the way, which is where I think we can go in our conversation, if they're modeling that way clearly and being a coach practitioner is my phrase for that, then other people will be confused. The direction of our culture will not be clear.
So in your model, which I love a good model, especially that's useful, this feedback loop is essential.
Oh, yeah.
I'm also hearing that when you talk about a coaching culture, you're not talking about what we most often think of, where we bring the expert coaches in to speak to the people.
Absolutely no.
Tell me what you mean by coaching culture.
But there's a place for that, Christopher, to have
good.
expert coaches, absolutely, coaching the leaders so that they have a chance to digest and then work with their feedback and make it actionable and do something about their feedback. That's what an executive coach does far better than anybody else. An internal coach doesn't have the oomph, the power, the position, the objectivity. So the idea is to be able to do that in a way that really helps that leader change their behavior. So the executive coaching, the professional coaching folks that do that are worth their weight in gold.
Now, I know.
And then the idea is to have them all learn how to give and receive feedback with one another so they can become coaches for the people they have the privilege of leading.
That's got to be golden. I mean, to actually work with people about their ability to receive feedback.
Yeah.
I know that we've all got some story. I know that for me, you know, my famous story by now is I worked with this organization that I loved so much, and I loved their mission, and I always wanted to work with them, and then they contacted me out of the blue. It was awesome. And then I went in, and it was a classic toxic leader situation, you know, and I went in, and the guy asked for a report, and I said, well, you know, here's your report. Apparently, there's
luck.
one problem.
Yeah.
And it was the kind of culture where you could there were 1,000 ways to get into the doghouse, into trouble, and 0 ways to get out. Like once you were in trouble, that was labeled. Have you had some similarly, you know, and the end of that story is that, you know, about, I think, 2 days after I delivered my report, I got a call from the assistant relieving me of my duties, right? Like, thanks so much.
Services are no longer required.
Exactly.
Right.
What about you? Have you got some stories either similarly, like, you know, dead end stories, or maybe some triumph stories of toxic cultures that you were able to impact?
Well, yeah, it's, you know, the Japanese have a saying, and by the way, I'm not here to diss leaders. I'm not here to criticize them, other than to say often, because of the dynamic and the power they have, the awesome power they have as a leader, it's incumbent upon them to be aware of that and to use that power judiciously. Let's not talk about current politics.
I was going to say, sure you don't want to diss a leader?
Please, I'd just soon not go there. But the idea is that leaders, when they really get the power that they have, they cast a huge shadow. They cast light and they cast a shadow. So the idea is to grow and develop the light they can cast, as they are a positive reflector of all the good things where they're trying to get to, that's positive, this desired future state, and then let go of the shadow, because we all have a psychological shadow, right? We all have things that we don't like about ourselves that we can project onto others, so there's a shadow at work as well. So to be aware of that shadow, often the feedback that they get is about their shadow. So how do we help them change gears? Well, the idea is to define what the new culture could be, the possibility going forward. Can I share with you how we work with defining that culture?
Sure.
Which recontextualizes what they've been doing and gives them hope on how they can do things differently going forward.
So your report, for example, in the situation I was talking about, wouldn't say, hey, buddy, there's one problem and it's you. You've got a different approach that keeps you employed and on the upward spiral, yeah?
Because he or she, that leader you're talking about, is part of a system, and they have a huge impact on the system, but the culture is a system of relationships. And so how do we work on changing those? Well, you start at the top. So any effective highly productive culture change effort is one that starts at the top. People will say start in the middle, start in the bottom. Yeah, you can start there, but it doesn't become as sustainable. It will never truly carry forward and be sustainable and become the new culture, the new norm, unless the top leadership embraces it and models it and walks that walk.
So don't even bother. This is a valuable lesson for all of us, because many of us have been privileged to work with an organization where they say, we just want you to talk to the middle management.
Come in and train our managers, because
Exactly.
they need to be coaching.
Exactly.
Okay, well let's stop that conversation right there. So how are you doing at coaching? What is it you're effective at? Can you sit face to face, eyeball to eyeball, and share feedback around what's not working? Can you confront those things in a positive way so the person doesn't feel beat up or criticized? Can you say it in a way that they can hear it and it becomes actionable? That's the opportunity for a leader who has, they're smart people. They know where they're going. They're often the founder, the proprietor of the business. They've got executive talent in crazy amounts. But the idea is, how do they focus that when it comes to relating to people? And are they then also responsive to people so that they're not only able to give feedback, but they're able to receive feedback? So that coin, I've talked about coaching as a two-sided coin for years,
Nice.
Christopher. Here, that's for your pocket. This is a chip. It's a blue chip, right? So it says on one side coaching, the other side's coachability. Coaching and coachability are two sides of the same coin. I have myself on video and audio tape from 10 or 12 years ago. I've been saying that forever. I finally, a couple months ago, said, I need to go get the coin.
That's brilliant.
So here's the coin, and how you use it is this. You flip the coin,
Okay.
see what comes up. My mission today, in my case, is to do something around coaching. It's a daily mission. I've got to take some action that looks like me going and delivering feedback, asking questions, clarifying direction, right back to what we talked about, appreciating somebody, that the top complaint. How can I acknowledge somebody's achievements? That's my mission there. If I flip it the next day and coachability, gosh darn it, that came up.
That's right.
I need to go solicit feedback and find out how I'm doing as a leader. How am I doing as a coach? Am I a collaborator? Are expectations clear? Is my feedback actually helpful? So there's a gazillion things to talk about, but then I'm asking questions. I'm gathering feedback, and it's my daily task.
So brilliant. Coaching on one side, coachability on the other.
Yeah.
I love that, and I love this notion, all grounded in the feedback loop.
Oh, yeah.
Give us a success story, and I want to get people to actually hear this in their lives. I think that as a model, we can get to it. But give us an example of a time that it worked and a time that it didn't work.
Perfect.
If you would.
Well, without naming names,
Although,
an exemplary leader, so I'll start it that way, at a fairly large organization in the Midwest, caught the fever, got the idea that his job was to be, this was a man, so he became a coach. He created a coaching culture. They've been on a mission of creating a coaching culture for a few years. And of the 5 strategic objectives every year, Christopher, one of them is always continue to develop our coaching culture.
Great.
So they see that as a constant, and it's an undergirders, or underpins, what's the word? It's the foundation for them doing the other 4 strategic objectives well, because they've got a culture that's nimble, that's open, that's compassionate, that is candid in the feedback that they give, so they know everything else will get better if they do that. He shows up coachable. We have people work for when we do our workshops, we have them create a coaching contract. Wow. Which is on a 3x5 card. It's laminated, it's got their logo on it, and it reminds them, they remind themselves because they write it for themselves, these are the 2 or 3 coaching behaviors I am going to focus on going forward. And they carry that with them. It's in their organizer, it's in their shirt pocket, it's at their desk, so that they are constantly reminded of what their intention is in terms of their behavioral objective for the day. So they use that as a mantra, they use it as a guide. Well, this guy, Bill, shares his coaching contract when he opens meetings.
Wow.
And he's starting to have the rest of the team share their coaching contract because he knows the power of intention. He knows the power of him and everybody using the process of giving and receiving feedback on a daily basis.
Wow.
So he is an excellent role model and shows the way for others because he's transparent. He's working on himself. He's able to do that. He's comfortable in his own skin, so he can say, hey, I'm working on being a better listener. I've had issues in the past. I sometimes shut down. I come up with the next answer before I don't really listen. I need help in this area. So no, I'm working on my listening, and I want your ongoing feedback. Am I getting better? Am I staying the same, or am I getting worse? He asks for feedback.
That's stunning.
It is.
Right? That's
It
like
is.
your golden moment. And I'm assuming that not every engagement, not every leader is quite that open. I'm challenged myself as I'm thinking about it. I know what at least a couple of those behaviors would be that I need to take on as a leader in my organization. And I'm like, you had me until I had to tell people what those are.
Well, yeah. See, that's the transparency. That's the openness. And without that level of being willing to share of yourself and who you are as a human being and the fact that you're fallible like everybody else, that's what makes you human. That's what makes me able to believe you. Because if you walk in with a suit, you never take your suit off. It's an ironclad suit, right? There's this role I play. There's this power and position that I'm in, and that's ego-driven.
Right.
And if I let that become absolutely the way I do things, the way I conduct myself, I'm not open, I'm not transparent, I'm not available, I'm not present with you. The human being Tom, the human being Christopher is not here with me. That's what's missing in most places because of the severe pressure we've been under. We pull back, we defend ourselves. Defense is an ego act, so we're defending ourselves rather than opening ourselves up to see what's next.
Man, and that ties so beautifully with this coin that I'm fumbling with, and the
That's
coachability
yours to keep, by the
part.
way.
Thank
That
you
is
so
yours,
much. It's
yeah.
beautiful. Let's go back to is there a story that's almost the opposite direction?
Yeah. Classically, other people that act as consultants or coaches have run into this as well, which is, come in and fix my people.
Right.
Because you know what, they don't know how to coach, and they don't really quite get this. So they need to strengthen their ability to give and receive feedback because this CEO is pounding the table, needing more and more and more, grow. Well. Halfway through an engagement, I got a comment from a senior executive at an organization where we're talking about the value of coaching and really focusing on ongoing implementation and how we continue to take it deeper and bring in the next level. And then hold up the mirror and look at how well he or she was doing at that moment. It was a he.
I'm so sorry. I totally got enthralled in our conversation.
That must mean something.
It does. It's just like the Oscars.
Yeah.
What that means is we've got to take a break here, and I'm so sorry. Please remember where you are in the story.
I will.
I apologize. That was my bad for not looking at the clock. You, my dear listener, listen to these important messages, and when we come back, more with Tom Crane. Check him out at craneconsulting.com.
Hi, Mary. Our growth has me looking for new furniture, but I can't find the right vendor. Can you help?
For sure.
Do you know a company that will give me a great value?
For sure.
Do you know a company that provides great selection?
For sure.
Do you know a company that is professional and responsive?
For sure. It's Shore. Shore Office Warehouse has been providing great value, service, and selection for over 40 years. It's Shore. For sure. ShoreOfficeWarehouse.com.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on Vin Village Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Gotham Books presents Marriage Rules by Harriet Lerner. The book Martha Beck calls required reading for anyone hoping to interact successfully with any other human, not just for those in romantic relationships. Get your copy wherever books and ebooks are sold, and visit harrietlerner.com to learn how to change your marriage today.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
Accomplishment Coaching is proud to present the following fine programming. Accomplishment Coaching, where coaches lead and leaders coach. AccomplishmentCoaching.com.
Welcome back to the Coaching Show with your host, Master Certified Coach Christopher McCullough.
Hello. I got caught. It's ironic that on the break we were talking about not getting lost in the conversation, and then I got lost in the conversation. All right, dear listener, thank you very much.
You and me both.
For tolerating that. We're delighted to continue with Thomas Crane. He is the founder of Crane Consulting. You can find him on the web by going to Crane, C-R-A-N-E, like a crane, consulting.com. You also want to get immediately his book, The Heart of Coaching. You can get it at that website. You can get it wherever fine books are sold. Now in its fourth edition, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to test it out, you can download 3 chapters for free on his website. And of course, we're talking about his model, his transformational coaching model for going into organizations and dealing with everyone at the leadership level on down and creating feedback loops and a coaching culture, a real coaching culture, not just something that we say for the, for the little people, but something that starts at the top and impacts the top as well as it goes. We've talked about coaching and coachability. And I know that you've got a great model for leadership that we want to get to. Just before the break, we were talking about stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Horror stories and everything. So I want to pick it up there. But I'm going to sort of lay out our conversation if you'll allow
Sure,
me.
please.
So the first is, let's hear that story because I want to hear about, I want people to get a real world experience of it doesn't always go great,
Right.
and what to look out for. I also want to suggest that a lot of what you're talking about sounds to my ear like emotional intelligence and training people there, and so I want to know how important that is and how you address that, especially in transforming a culture. And then I want to get to this leadership model. You good with that?
Got it. You bet.
All right,
You
man.
bet.
So we start with the story, the
Yep.
story. So we were with the people in the Midwest.
And the second example that I started to talk about is where it didn't go quite so well.
Right.
It was not a failure, but it was disappointing for me, at least. One of the things we talk about is the shift from being the boss of people. Why? Because I said so. I'm the boss. If you don't do it, I'll find somebody else who will. Heavy-handed, top-down, autocratic command and control. Lots of ways to describe this old model of being the boss.
Right.
Well, it's about shifting to being a coach for people, a mindset of service and help, and how can I enliven you? How can I engage you? How can I have you use accountability in a positive way? Because it's a hugely motivating thing, if only we'll frame it and use it that way. Well, one of the things in this shift is moving from only looking at the numbers, the bottom line, just the result, that's all I really care about, into looking at both the process and the numbers. So process and results.
Right.
Well, then that's we'd advocate it's a more balanced, it's more effective, it's more productive, more healthy, etc. Well, then halfway through this engagement, the CEO said, well, Tom, you keep talking about coaching. And I'm going, yeah, that's why I'm here.
It's right there on the book.
And to paraphrase what he said next, it was something like, I don't give a hoot about coaching. I'm looking at the bottom line. And I said, okay, I thought you were actually on board. As an example of somebody who really didn't quite get it. They did not understand that we're teaching process skills so that the objective we're trying to create is more understood, it's aligned, it's clear, the feedback on how we're doing is part of the conversation. Those are all process skills. And this senior executive just wasn't on board. And his makeup at the time, his emotional intelligence,
Not
right,
so high.
was a little low. I didn't measure it, don't know, but it was apparent to me that this leader was not really understanding that these process skills are exactly what brought him the results he was looking for.
Yeah, so clear to an outsider, and
Yeah.
and yet it's our job. So I imagine that, like me, sometimes when it goes that way, you're sort of like, oh, if only.
You shake your head and you say, what is it I didn't say? What is
Right.
it that I didn't help this person understand? So I'm looking for my accountability and all that. But it's interesting you should bring in emotional intelligence, EI. Obviously, Goldman, his book, and all the fine instruments out there that measure it are deeply connected to my ability to relate interpersonally with you. So I've broken all the EI stuff down into a 2x2 matrix, and we use it directly in our workshop.
Every consultant and coach uses a 2x2 matrix. People.
Well, you got
we make our living on 2x2.
Yeah, and then there's the swivel, the swirl, the cycle, and then there's sometimes a 2x2. Well, the 2x2 breaks it into what it does, it simplifies it. It brings it down into something that's concrete, Christopher, so you can actually understand it and then use it. So
I'm
the
ready.
Subtitle on this coaching model actually is, it's a roadmap for emotionally intelligent collegial coaching conversations.
Wow. Try
So
saying that 3
we've
times fast.
embedded, I probably can't, but the idea is to embed EI skills, my awareness of self, my awareness of others, my ability to maintain control, manage myself, and then influence you in a positive way. So that's the 2x2 matrix. So then it really makes it concrete and usable in terms of how you tap into and use EI with our
Do you want some paper?
with our
'Cause I'm-
colleagues. Well,
I'm all about this 2x2.
Okay, all right, 2x2. The column is self.
Self.
One left-hand column is self. The right-hand column is other.
Yes.
And then the first row across would be awareness, and then the next level down, the second row is behavior.
Okay, I have all of those things. I have self, others, awareness, and behavior.
Right.
So, I'm
So there's
doing
your
good so
there's
far.
your 2x2 matrix. So self-awareness. What am I aware of in myself? What are my shadow issues? What are my triggers? What are my skills? All the good things I can do. Awareness of other is, can I pay attention to their body language, their tone of voice? Can I pick up on what's going on with them inside of their body, their mind, their heart, their soul? What's going on inside of that person that I'm going to want to pay attention to? The behavioral quadrant under self is my actions. What is it I do to manage myself, self-control, all of those things.
Expression.
Exactly. Expression, the way I say things, is anything I do or say, that's a behavior. Well then, can I then in a positive way influence the other's behavior? Because that's what I typically am delivering feedback around. But I've got to say it in a way that they can hear it, and it becomes actionable. So then what can I do in a positive way to influence their behavioral shift? Because that's the way you really define the effectiveness of not only learning. Learning doesn't occur unless behavior changes, and the culture doesn't shift unless the leadership behaviors taken together, they all change too. So it's about behavioral change.
And this is very similar to what we were just talking about in terms of, when we have an engagement that doesn't go as powerfully as we'd like it to, we then look and see, what could I said? How could I have gotten this over into their court, so to speak? So that they
Exactly, in a
can-
way they can understand it and then operationalize it and use it.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for this. And
Yeah.
don't be surprised when, you see me speaking at the ICF on this very topic. I'm kidding.
You
of
take it and
course.
run. That's great.
People, do not steal other people's stuff. I'm just teasing. It's an ethical issue. You know that.
Just flip the coin, they'll know what you're talking about.
All right. Okay, so now, people, if you've been sort of like vacuuming while you've been listening to this, or if you've been watching this while you're going through your Facebook feed, stop and look up, because we now have just a delicious morsel of a tool that Tom has created.
Can I show this or what?
Yeah, right. The cameras are there.
All right, there is a bicycle. So everybody knows bicycles, and of course the cool part about a bike is when you learn how to ride a bike, you never forget. You can always get back on it.
True that.
At our advanced age, and probably ride this puppy, right? So what I did is I played with the idea of a bicycle as a functional vehicle to move from point A to point B, and I said, okay, this is the leadership bicycle. Pulled this together about 2 years ago. The framework, the frame that actually holds the front tire, the back tire, the handlebars, and the seat together, that is communications writ large, our communications effectiveness. That's what connects everything in the organization. Well, you have a front tire and a back tire. The tire, the rubber that actually meets the road, because
Nice.
that's the metaphor, right, is our customers. Are we focused on meeting the customer's needs, where the rubber meets the road? The spokes and the structure for that front wheel is our course. And, to our interview a while ago, directions, it's our vision, it's our mission, it's our core values, how we're going to work together, all of the expectations that define our course, where we're headed.
Also
so
known
that
as
and
culture?
Well, it's a piece of culture. These are all related to culture.
Gotcha.
But the one thing I left out of our course direction is the strategy, and that's the handlebars.
Right, the point where you point
which
it.
is exactly, precisely. We're there to serve customers. Other things support a full definition, of course, but the handlebars provide the primary steering mechanism. All right, then you've got a back wheel. The back wheel, which is where the power comes from, that's the coaching wheel, where we learn how to give and receive feedback. And the tire there, what meets the road, the rubber that meets the road and the back wheel, is people. People is where we get traction.
Nice. I love that. People
Well,
is
then
where
you
we get traction.
Thank you. Then you've got the pedal itself. The pedal's the structure that actually is what allows the person who's riding this bicycle, more about that in just a minute, them to exercise accountability and empower people. So the power train comes from putting your feet on the pedals and actually turning the crank. So the front sprocket, if you will, is empowerment. The back sprocket on the back wheel that connects to the back is engagement. So by using empowerment in a positive way and accountability, we engage people, because otherwise there's no power connection. The chain that connects the two, feedback. See, the
Beautiful.
feedback has got to be there to exercise accountability, to engage people, and through the process of feedback, who's riding this bicycle, who sits on the top of it, who's in the seat? Leaders.
Beautiful.
The idea is to get your you-know-what in the seat and run this bicycle. And there's a shaft that holds up the bicycle seat. That little thing that you can adjust up and down.
Right.
And if that's not strong and in place and pointed the right direction, then the seat's unstable. The currency of leaders is trust. So that little structure that holds up the seat is the trust.
Just in this description, you've come up with like 3 or 4 excellent TED Talks. The currency of leaders is trust. Mwah.
Yeah.
Beautiful, right?
Cool. Thank you.
And I love the sprockets of empowerment and engagement.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful. Now, where do we find this beautiful piece of leadership? Delicious definition. Is this in the 4th edition of?
I don't have that in the book yet. It's in our workshops that we do.
It's a whole other book.
Thank you. It really is. It's thank you. I think of the same thing. It's in a blog right now on my website, so people can find it when you go to the blog section of my website and defined kind of like I just did just now. But you're right. It's probably a launching pad for more work, more books, etc. Yeah.
And again, the blog that we're talking about is at Tom's website, which is Crane, C-R-A-N-E, consulting.com. Lots of great stuff there. This one is, in particular, is titled The Art of Leadership and Riding a Bicycle. And it's there. There's also EQ and coaching. There's lots of great stuff there. And one of the things that I've referenced throughout our conversation is culture. And I know that one of your blog posts is about culture is not how we do things. Do you want to address that?
Sure. It's how we do things, which is a partial definition. I think it's accurate, but it's incomplete. Necessary, but insufficient. The idea is it's also how we treat people. It's the relationships we have, how much trust is there, how much accountability is there. That's both given and received, but it's modeled from the top. So it's the relationships as well, and the network of relationships, along with how we do things. That's a fuller definition of what culture truly is.
Well, we're in our last, I think, 7 minutes or something together.
All right.
I can't really tell time. It's a
7's a good number.
Tragedy. But what I want to sort of, it's clear that this body of work is deep, necessary, and powerful. So, first of all, thanks for creating it. Thanks for all the great organizations that you've brought it to, including household names like Michelin and Pfizer and Shell and Verizon. But I'm wondering about the work of doing this. It seems to me like you've always got to be personally sort of out ahead of the curve as you're developing, as you're seeing more and more different types or nuances of leadership and culture? This may be an unfair question, but if you could start someplace, if you could give all coaches one starting place when they're working with executives or leaders, what would you have us do, or where would you have us impact leadership?
Great question.
That's why I get paid the no money.
And it's fair. I just wish I'd known it was coming. No. Well, I think the idea is this. If you want to shift the culture, shift the leadership team culture. It's their ability to collaborate, to be open, to give and receive feedback to one another, up and down, so that they can speak truth to power. If they can't do that with themselves and they cannot collaborate, no wonder the rest of the organization has got trouble. The Japanese have got this saying, which is about, the fish rots from the head. So if you got a problem in a culture, it's dysfunctional, it's toxic, look at the top, look at the corner office and see what's going on there. And then, of course, it takes, as a coach, a tremendous amount of rapport and respect to be able to get in and deliver this kind of feedback, speak truth to power here for sure, and then have that feedback be understood in such a way as they choose to act on it. And when they can set a new tone, and that leadership team of the top 4, 6, 8 people, 10 maybe, can learn how to create a coaching culture right there, then they'll know how to do it every place else.
Is there something, as you go around and give talks and encounter people who impact leaders, right? So whether we're talking about the OD specialists or the SHRM people or any of these folks, is there something that you would have us stop doing? Do you think that there's something that's well-intentioned that's either not effective or actually continuing the current cultures?
A lesson for me in my career is to be more of a disruptor. And to take that role on, a change agent, another way to say it that's more easier to hear, I guess. But truly, if you're going to change, you've got to disrupt the status quo. So as a consultant, as an executive coach, as a facilitator, teaching this coaching model to any client you work with, it's about being a disruptor, and you've got to be willing to stand in the face of the fire and the flame and to say things that are unpopular and say things that are hard to say and hard for them to hear. But unless we've got that courage to do that and say that and show up that way, to be in integrity and not afraid of losing our job, confront things that need to be confronted, there's the huge wake-up call for me, because it's the thing that we as an outside consultant would do. We want to keep our job. We want to keep this engagement going. It's about all of that. Rather, what is it I can do to make the biggest difference here with respect? How can I say this so that whomever I'm speaking with really appreciates the feedback, where it comes from, my intention. We always have people talk about their positive intention in sharing any message. So that's the front-loading device that makes it more palatable, more easy to hear. In the spirit of coaching, I'd like to share some feedback with you that I've heard. I don't know if it's true, but I think it might be important that you hear it. Nice. You have a moment right now. And that something like that kind of sets the openness for them to receive. So be more confrontive. Take on the role, the role and the agent, the change agent role, and see yourself as a disruptor. Because truly, that's what you have to do to create change.
I love it. And the fear of getting fired is way worse and way more powerful in terms of shutting down good coaching than actually getting fired. Right? We've all actually gotten fired, and we lived through it. I mean, most of us. Maybe not you, but I.
No, I lived through some of those.
Okay, good.
Sure.
Let's talk about the impact in your personal life. So this is a huge, it seems like true evangelism. Like you believe this stuff, you live this stuff, you're clear about it. I can ask you almost any question and you're right there with it. Has it impacted you personally? And are there downsides? Like, is it something you got to turn off before you go home? Honey, I have some coaching for you around our dinner. Or
that's actually what I don't say.
Yeah, clear.
Because I learned years ago. I tried that. It's like, okay, sit down. I got some. I don't think so.
No.
What I've learned is to internalize this message even more. You want to learn something, go teach it, right? So what I've taken on as a 2017, probably going forward, goal for myself and my personal goal planning is to this year become totally coachable.
Oh.
Move through all of my ego needs to look right and to be right and to want to argue and to try to prove that I've got a better answer with a client or my spouse or my children who are all adult. But the idea is to become absolutely 100% totally coachable. That's my objective for the year. Mm-hmm. And I'm just having to keep breathing. I'm having to zip it when I want to say something. It's like, no, take a few minutes, reflect on that. How can I respond to that as opposed to react to that? So I'm working on that personally.
Beautiful. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think that that's one of the things people can take away is to actually have an intentional goal, either by quarter, by 6 months, or by year for any leader. You know, one of the things that you believe, that I also believe, is that coaching is leadership, or at least is you know, they are synonymous.
My phrase, coaching is applied leadership, taking what you know about leadership and show up as a coach.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I've tried to explain it, you know, or share it in different ways about where coaching is leadership is utilizing leadership skills and leadership is utilizing coaching skills. I think that for me, the biggest challenge for this year is to actually live as a leader. You know, I was in the parking lot here and grumpy because somebody had left a bag of trash in one of the spots that I wanted to pull in, you know, so I got out of my car and, you know, sort of kicked that bag of trash out of my way. Right. And then I parked, and then I thought, what am I doing? That's not a leader. That's a, you know, whiny 5-year-old. So I went out and got the bag of trash, now, of course, strewn everywhere because I had kicked it, you know, and picked it all up.
You kicked it.
Put it in the, put it in the trash receptacle. But, you know, I think that that's also a message of personal responsibility on my part and growth. And I love that you're living that, right? Like me personally being coachable, 100%, not 98%, and I save 2 for me, but 100%.
There you go.
It's extraordinary. We're down to our last 3 minutes, and I want to give it all to you. The question I have is, I'd love, as an experienced coach, as a man who's been living this for decades, as a man who's made a huge impact, what would you have 20 or 30,000 coaches know? What would you leave us with today? And anything that you've particularly learned in the last, you know, little bit here that you share with people who are trying to get to or aspire to be who you are?
Thank you for that question and the opportunity. I think it comes to do with kicking the trash in the parking lot, actually, if I might. The way that shows up for me is driving my car. When I drive my car and somebody is following me too close, it upsets me. It's probably my ego. Maybe I'm trying to just protect myself. I don't know. Or they're driving too fast, or they whiz by, or they don't signal, they cut you off. I see what I call reckless driving, and that's my label for it. I see that, and that is a huge trigger for me. It's easy for me to get enraged at somebody, and I go to the thought, what in the heck are they doing? What is wrong with them? Obviously, they're irresponsible, they're reckless, they're a danger, etc. I judge them harshly. And then the reaction is to want to either give them a one-handed salute or to say something out the window, and that's the tendency that I'm working on bridling and saying, okay, interesting, that's me being judgmental. However, there's probably a lot going on with that person. I don't know. Maybe their wife is having a baby and they're trying to get to the hospital. Maybe they've got a pet in the back seat they're trying to take to a veterinarian. Maybe they've got some strategic objective in their job. They've got a relationship that's melting down. They have all kinds of stuff going on in their lives, like I do, like you do, that I don't have a clue. So my job is to be kind. My job is to watch, observe, get myself out of the way, stop the judging, and go to, I wonder what's going on. So shifting from judgment to curiosity, and know that I don't know the answer, is the thing I work on as I drive. I don't have any clue what's going on and what's motivating that driver to do what they do. But I'm trying to let it not bother me. Not trying. I'm letting it not bother me. I'm breathing. I'm coming back to, I don't know what's going on with them. Let me get out of their way. They're obviously in a hurry.
I love the integrity because, of course, this is your 2x2 matrix.
So, yeah, any coach, any consultant's got to work on themselves. They've got to be able to do this because you go to your ground. I can't talk and preach to you and talk to you about this unless I can do it myself. So when I go to my ground and I'm more in integrity and I'm more congruent with my values, I'm going to show up more credible and be more present with you.
Beautiful. It's a privilege to talk to you and to be with you. You have great personal charisma and magnetism. So if you see this guy speaking, go and be with him. You want to be. It's Tom Crane. You can find out more by going to craneconsulting.com. The book is The Heart of Coaching, now in its 4th edition. And listen, if you don't have this on your shelf, if you haven't dog-eared its pages as I have, you need to. The transformational coaching model is in there. It gives you some clarity about where to go and what to do. Any events where you're speaking or people can come find you?
I don't have the date in my mind. It's May. I'm going to be speaking actually, in a session in I think it's Nova Scotia. It's ICF Canada.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
All right.
One of the regional offices over in the eastern provinces.
We'll look for that and more at Crane Consulting. That music tells us our time is up. Thank you, sir, for all of your great work. And
my
thanks for
pleasure to
being
be
with us here. And thank you, my dear listener, for tuning in. That's another edition of the Coaching Show behind us. Each week, bringing you people on the cutting edge of coaching and leading our wonderful field. We'll talk to you next week.
Your search for the right office furniture will be done when you walk into Shore for sure. In our 46,000 square foot warehouse, you are sure to find the right new or used desk and chair for your home and office. Trusted for over 40 years, Shore is proven to provide great value, quality, and service. From free space planning to our white glove delivery service, you are sure to leave happy and satisfied. We're a family-owned business that will treat you like family for sure. Se habla español.
Do you want to be a